For now, we're quickly ready to dive into the next segment. We're moving on to a conversation which continues to attract significant attention from owners, operators, and investors alike. This is about Midscale. We ask, is Midscale the new battleground? Consolidation, collaboration, and the future of growth examines how the mid-scale segment is emerging as one of the most competitive and opportunity-rich spaces within India's hospitality landscape. With a big round of applause, let's welcome the speakers onto the stage. Thank you to all the panelists for joining us, and over to Ms. Swati Arora from HVS ANAROCK to take this forward.
Thank you, Ritika. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here, and even better to be joined by such an experienced group of leaders. I was told to have fun, so I'm going to keep it light and very real. Midscale. It is what we believe is the most important growth conversation in India today. Luxury may drive aspiration, budgets may drive volume, but midscale is where there's competition, complexity, and capital is colliding. The big question today is, Deepika, I'm going to come straight to you. IHCL today has built iconic luxury through Taj, but in recent years, you've made a decision to expand into mid-market segment through Ginger and strategic partnership with the NK and Pride. From IHCL's vantage point, is midscale a proactive bet on India's consumption story, or about defending market share when new entrants are coming?
Hi, Swati, thanks. So I think IHCL's has been the pioneer in the mid-scale segment. I think many of our colleagues who've also actually been here with IHCL have been a part of that journey. Started way back under Project Wildfire back in 2004. The first hotel actually opened in 2006 when we actually had chain or brand affiliated kind of products coming out. So that was when Ginger was really born as Indie One and inaugurated by Mr. Tata then, under the larger strategic rationale of the Tata Group to try and develop products and services that can address this mid-market segment. So whether it was automobile, hospitality, or consumer products like watches. So that's really our genesis. So I think our pioneering efforts started way back there. And it was recognized that this is India's largest addressable market size. Like if you look at the population, surely in terms of scale, in terms of network, it's going to come from the mid-scale. So that's really our beginnings in exploring this. A cut to today, we, as Mr. Chatwal mentioned in his session earlier, through the ANK and Pride majority stake acquisition, IHCL now has a portfolio of 260 hotels in the mid-scale. We believe that is market leader position right now. If you just look at the share of what is mid-scale, not mid-upper scale, etc., but just in the mid-scale segment. But I think this segment still has a lot more opportunity. I think there is space for everybody to look at it more seriously.
Right. Yeah, and so we understand that this is an expansion of ambition with your strategy of getting into mid-scale. And Jatin, I'll bring you here.
Sure.
You've long operated in the tier 1, 2, and 3 segments. And it is one of the hardest segments to get right. Despite strong demand, where does the pressure show up most? Is it costs, pricing power, manpower, or owners' expectations?
So before I get into that, let me say this, Deepika, there are very few places where somebody can say that we were there before IHCL. So I think in mid-market with Sarovar, especially with Ajay over here and late Mr. Madhok, they started almost 31 years back. So you're absolutely right, the way mid-market or mid-market upscale, getting into some of the smaller places, I think cost, one part, is very difficult, especially in the earlier part of how the company trajectory was. We're in a lucky curve that the rate corrections have really helped the margins. But again, when you look at it, more than the cost and all, I genuinely feel that these smaller markets have more handicap on technology adaptation when you compare it with the bigger market and how they will catch up with it. So I think it's a mixed thing. And when you look at overall the mid-market or how you classify it as, in last one day, everybody has been talking about expansion, stability, margins, all that. I think this space is still into an expansion mode and not into a profitable, not like profitability is the main pillar. It's still expanding, in my opinion.
Right, fully agree. And Rahool, over to you. Wyndham is franchise-led. It is penetrated globally in this format. Give us your perspective on this segment and your journey in the last, post-COVID. In fact, when we were talking outside, you mentioned you've grown to now 100 hotels. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Swati. And first thing is fantastic show, a fantastic 2026 hope. Let me start by saying that, and I'm not going to fight for the place of being the oldest. I'll fight for the place of being the youngest. So Jatin and Deepika, thank you very much for being there. I think India has been very kind to us, we are a sub 10 years old company in this part of the world. And we were very well accepted in India. Unlike the others, we penetrated in tier 2, tier 3 cities because we knew that, tier 1 would be a difficult proposition. But saying that, tier 2 really accepted us really very well. We are well accepted there. We are well recognized there, and short span of time, 95 hotels in India, 100 in Southwest Asia region. So I think the journey has been really good for us. Another aspect which I also want to mention to you is that, today the market is ready for more kind of brands. Earlier, they were dependent on, say, a couple of 3 or 4 brands and more traditional Indian or international brands. And from our perspective, we have about 12 brands in the span of about 10 years. So I think the market is ready to consume more brands. They understand brands more than any time earlier.
Yeah, rightly said. But Rahool, tell us, what is more difficult? Is it growth or control?
Both, both, because growth is happening, and I think the playing field is really very big. Everybody just entered. And traditionally, if you see, in this part of the world, and when I say this part of the world, I mean India, traditionally, we were more used to 5-star hotels. We didn't start from mid-market hotels over here. We started with 5-star hotels. So for us, aspirations always meant, or hotels actually meant for us was 5 stars. So I think we are still very young. There's a great playing field. And I think the rules will get controlled period of time when there will be a lot of influx of brands in each and every, in smaller tier 3 cities. And, it's not right for me to say tier 3 cities anymore because the way they're expanding, they're going to be very close to tier 2 cities now, so.
Is it okay if I take 10 seconds
Of
on
course.
this growth versus control?
Absolutely.
I have a slightly different take, Rahul. Growth, absolutely important, but what's really happening is that the curve which Indian economy is today, every brand is talking about how many they have signed, but what we represent today, if you look at it, this is one segment in last 36 months has seen the maximum deflagging and conversion. So the control becomes, in my opinion, a lot more important as you keep on getting into smaller places, franchise operations, or first-time investors coming into it. So my take is that I probably put control a little up than growth, because growth is genuinely happening right now, what we've been talking about. Yeah.
Right. Right, well said. Kahraman, you're one of the youngest brands, and you've successfully built a high-touch, high-tech company. And you're somewhere between being a brand-led and an entrepreneurial brand, which is design-led. And you also believe in localization. So tell us about your journey, and we'd like to understand is Midscale, is the segment that you're operating is it scalable when you bring in localization?
Thank you, Swati. So I think we're probably the youngest brand here. We're only 6 years old. And, we launched just before the pandemic as a zillennial brand. That's basically a millennial plus Gen Z. And when we look at that segment, that's 800 million people. And this group usually is not affording or going to five-star hotels. And even when we look at the corporate segment, when they're traveling, or the startups, I mean, Bangalore is home to 7,000 startups, and they don't have five-star budgets, and actually everyone is budget conscious. And I think, I mean, on the overall theme, the urbanization, the rising middle class, you got about 2.5% urbanization, about 30 million people are migrating to metros every year, and you know, the major metros are not able to handle this influx by themselves. So, you know, what we're seeing is, you know, towns are becoming, villages are becoming towns, towns are becoming cities, cities are becoming mega cities, and mega cities are getting decentralized. And with that said, I think, you know, the opportunity is really big, and this segment is the most unorganized segment. So I think, you know, we're on a mission to organize and institutionalize this segment, and it's just converting the existing stock, elevating the standard, and, you know, bringing some consistency into that, I think, is the key. And the only way to make sense of the numbers in the segment that we operate in is through introducing technology. And I think, you know, the biggest bottleneck that we're facing is the manpower. I mean, post-pandemic, the obviously enrollment in hospitality colleges plummeted. And what we're seeing is now everyone is growing, so there's a big shortage of manpower. And we're not short of assets, investors, or rooms. I think, you know, we're short of good quality manpower where we can, you know, bring in consistent, reliable service, especially in this sector. So, but I mean, to sum up, overall, I think the next 2 decades belongs to this segment, and this is where we're going to see the largest growth.
Fair. And I'd like to bring in Neeraj here. Neeraj, you're also one of the youngest brands here, and your great growth story is commendable. From how many, 5 hotels in 2018 to 100 hotels.
Correct.
Now in 2026. Tell us, and you have your own, you know, operator playbook. Tell us about your journey, and does scale guarantee success, or does it amplify mistakes?
So, thanks, Swati, for having me, first of all. And I think, yes, the brand has grown tremendously over the last 5-7 years. But I think the growth has been very measured. So it is not something like that, okay, an opportunity came and we just bounced upon it, and hence the scale will bring mistakes or anything. In fact, even today, our drop rate for deals is around 80 to 85%. So if 100 deals comes to us, around 85% of those deals, we are saying no. Because we feel that, okay, either we are not ready for the market, or we feel that, okay, we will not be able to do the justice with the developer. So until unless, because our model is primarily a lease model, so until unless we are doubly sure, both from the brand side and from the developer side, we are very, very controlled in terms of growth. There are days or months where we feel that, okay, the growth is not happening, but none of the decisions are getting changed or impacted because of that. So it has always been that, okay, whatever makes sense for the brand, for the developer, then only go ahead with it.
So how do you decide where to invest next? What do you refuse to compromise on?
So I think for us, we are a very TG-focused brand, and that will reflect in our designs also. That will reflect in the standardization which we bring across all the hotels. So whether we open a hotel in Ranchi or we open a hotel in Mumbai near BKC, it will remain almost the same design element. So for us, the start point is to understand if that target group is there in the market. If that target group is there, if the demand is there, then we say that, okay, let's go ahead. But if any of these things are missing, then we say that, okay, let's take a pause. If we want to delay to enter into the market, we will delay to enter into the market.
Right. And Jatin, I'd like your point of view on this. And you've grown into a 148 hotel company now. When do you pause and say, I need to recalibrate, consolidate, see where and how I need to invest next?
So This is a conversation which, if you ask me, has already started happening inside our boardroom. And not to say we want to pause, but we want to recalibrate. I think it's perfectly fine that even in an open forum, you complement what your competition is doing. A lot of time we discuss Bloom for what they bring. A lot of time we discuss Wyndham, what great work they've done within franchise world when everybody would say that is India ready for this? So it's not that we're taking a pause, but I think it's time. We're already having those conversations. How do we keep on growing in a sustained manner? And as I said, control. Because that is one thing which can dilute your brand. And once you get into that space, then it's very difficult to pull back. So you always have to look at that. So that conversation is already happening, if you ask me today.
Right, interesting. Deepika, IHCL has moved decisively towards an asset-light growth model, and how do you maintain brand equity while growing fast?
So actually, depending on the brand, our contract type and approach is different. So in the mid-scale segment, actually, we haven't grown in an asset-light manner. We actually do operating leases, just as Neeraj was mentioning for Bloom. The difference is that in our operating leases, we call them capital light because they're fully fitted operating leases, but they're long tenure leases of 30 years. And because in the mid-scale segment, even if you look at a 100-room inventory hotel, the size of revenue is such that if you were to do a management contract on it, the way we look at it is that the size of your fee would be fairly small. So to kind of build scale in terms of your balance sheet and your P&L, our preference is to do operating leases. We also do select investments, like in Goa right now. I mean, this morning I was coming from there. We're actually building a 300-room big box Ginger Hotel outside Mopa Airport. We also built one on our own land bank at Mumbai by the Terminal 1, which is a 371-room hotel. So it's a combination of select investments and operating leases that we are doing in the mid-scale segment. Because, see, for all of us who represent this segment, whether it's mid, upper mid, etc., clearly this is the segment where, as you mentioned right at the beginning, there's a lot of interest. I remember many years ago, this whole mid-scale segment was just 7% some single digit of branded supply in our country. And looking at some reports that Vijay was talking about in his recent presentation, he said this is going to almost grow to 30%.
Right.
And the fact is India's overall pie is only undersupplied. And on top of that, if this segment, which we all represent, will have the greatest potential. So a lot of space for various brands that we spoke about and different contract types, depending on what each brand's objective is.
Right. The one thing that comes to my mind is why we say we are growing in the mid-scale segment. When we put all the numbers on a paper, we realize that the contribution remains the same. If the pie is growing by all operators in this segment, do you think it's getting too crowded?
In our mid-scale segment?
Yes.
No, I think the opportunity is much, much more because we talked about different market types. All my colleagues were referring to that. So, I mean, I can just give you an example from our system. Like, if you just look at Andheri, those of us here from Mumbai would know, we have 4 Ginger hotels there, and they're not cannibalizing each other. And they're all sizable inventory. You could say that maybe they're suboptimal inventory, that's why they're coexisting. Each of them are on an average of about, let's say, 120 keys, and they're not cannibalizing each other, and maybe Andheri can take another one. So it's depending on the opportunity is still very large, and as we were talking, as India grows and newer towns are, I think you were just mentioning how, the smaller cities, state capitals can take a hotel, and the other biggest opportunity we're seeing is as manufacturing parks grow, like we have a strong presence also in a lot of industrial townships. So I think this is the segment actually really to watch out for. I think collectively, all brands will make big bets on this sector and in different ways.
Right. Rahool, tell us, do you think the profits do get thinner when you scale?
It's the way you look at it, because for the moment, in a place, as I said, the runway is really very big at this point of time. Also, the mid-scale lies between the upscale and the economy, So you have to really, work smartly in this aspect. You have to really have a very strong play in terms of your operations. The land is growing, the land cost is extremely high. So if the hotel is not at the right place and you've not bought at the right time, then probably yes. But yes, as I said, the runway is higher. We are all penetrating the market. For the moment, I think it's good from that perspective.
And the big question to you is, which I did hint while we were outside, is do you ever have the temptation of moving into management contract given the scale and size of India and what we traditionally do?
Let me start by saying that Wyndham is the world's largest franchise company. Our DNA has been franchise. But there's a lot of pressure from our owners. They've stayed with us for the longest time. They've grown with us for the longest time. They have multiple brands with us. They want us to now, and they can't manage all their hotels. So they are now putting pressure on us to manage hotels. So yes, by saying that, we are exploring propositions. We also know that, since franchise has become so famous and popular in this part of the world where once upon a time nobody wanted to enter franchise, everybody is doing franchise, everybody is getting into our territory. So probably yes.
Jatin, you want to...
Yeah, it's a very funny thing. When I joined Sarovar 4 years back, I genuinely thought that franchise is the in thing for mid-market. And what we've realized over the last 24 months, and correct me anybody, there is more and more demand for management. As Rahool rightly said, that the owners are saying, I do not want to manage it. I want you to run it. So there is more and more demand for that. And which is where, interestingly, and there's a topic or a discussion for another day, third party is mushrooming, which is where people like us are saying, I can't be everywhere. So let me hand it over to somebody else. So I think it's a nice ecosystem which is developing. But when you ask him, are you interested in management? And if you ask me, it's like you always want the other side. Who's eating what? When you go in a restaurant, look at the other table. Right. We want to get more into franchising. Right. So that's how it is.
Or you should do something like IHCL did, where you get an operating team like the NK and Pride team. So you get an operating team to manage your brand, and therefore you can, ensure that brand equity is maintained. So you just, whoever you bring, as he was mentioning, whether it's a third-party operator or you find a partner who you can build a second operating platform, then as long as they're able to keep the integrity of the brand, you're good to look at an asset-light growth then.
Absolutely. I think we're sitting between franchise-led, management contract-led, and those who make strategic decisions like IHCL. Kahraman, I'd like to touch a little bit upon technology. We spoke some bit of it. But India, it's large. The mid-scale population is growing. Technology is being accepted. But with mid-scale hotels, where loyalty also is a concern, do you think in such a diverse market like India, will a solution which is high touch, high tech, will that be accepted?
I think, India is probably one of the most advanced countries in terms of adoption of technology. I think you look at UPI, you look at other, those are some great examples. And I think another great example is DigiYatra. Today, the hotel stay is a continuation of that journey. And I think the zillennial crowd, that 800 million, are really tech savvy. And, the typical Indian knowledge worker, we see them on a e-bike. They got their laptop, they got their smartphone in their hand. When they go to the airport, they don't want to wait at a queue. And I think, unlike US, where you don't have to collect ID today at hotels, we have to collect ID. And, no disrespect to Taj, but coming to a hotel here, waiting at the reception 10 minutes for a plastic key card when you're sitting on $100 Italian marble on the floor, I don't think that's luxury. So if you can make that seamless, where the reception is looking at my face and saying, welcome to our hotel, our swimming pool is up here, we have 3 restaurants over here, and that's hospitality. I think technology is going to allow us to really focus on the guest. And what we're seeing is we're trying to migrate the mundane tasks to AI, and where our staff can really deliver the empathy, the service the guest is expecting. And if we can do that efficiently, not only at luxury segment, but I think we can deliver a much better experience, even at mid-segment or budget segment as well, with a handful of team members. So with that said, I don't think that's specific to any age group. I feel that everybody would appreciate efficiency, they would appreciate more attention, they would appreciate that experience. I mean, it's about the emotion that we deliver to the guest. I think, that's what's memorable. And at the end of the day, the physical asset itself, the bed comfort, the bed, the breakfast, the bath experience, all that is part of that. But technology is really changing how we operate. And in our segment, it's a must to make sense of the numbers. But I think the whole industry can benefit from this. I mean, you can still have 2 to 3 staff, 2 to 3 staff per room ratio at a higher segment, but definitely we can elevate the level of service that we're able to deliver or improve the bottom line, the margins, with adoption of technology where the guests might not feel that high-tech operating engine behind the scenes, but they still get a great service. So.
Right, I believe you have a few virtual receptions in Bengaluru.
Yeah.
Lovely. Neeraj, do you see it differently with your hotels?
No, so I think what Kahraman and team are doing is the need of the hour, because when we see these kind of hotels which are low on inventory, the staff which is front facing will have very disproportionate impact on the guest. But at the same time, it has to be very empowered because there is no layering of staff. So for example, if I see a Bloom hotel, you will have a hotel manager, and then you will not have all the head of departments, then the reportees, and then the frontline workers will come. So that is now not a budget or a economy segment hotel will operate, especially when it's a small hotel. So for these kind of hotels, the technology is a must. Yes, probably Indian mid-market is very different from Western mid-market. It still needs to have that warmth. We have to identify the places where technology can replace the human, but at the same time, there are places where if human is not there, probably as Indians will not be very receptive about it. But I think technology has to solve this. There has to be so what we call it is something like an invisible tech. So it is there, but it is not into the eyes of the customer. It is something like so for example, what we have done, we have created a full chatbot system inside the room. So the moment you enter into the hotel, the link will come to you. It is not like somebody sending you an email or something. It will just pop up. You click the link, and the chatbot is there. Now you want to order anything, you have to just, all the prompts are there, you just click that, and that thing will be delivered to your room in 2 minutes. So you enter into the room, now you're not looking for where the phone is, now you'll call the reception, they will pick, not pick, they will tell, okay, go to the next department. So all those things have to be managed very carefully in these hotels. So I think that is the need of the hour. Things will go this way.
Well, interesting. How does that play in tier 3 cities?
So I think, as Kahraman is rightly saying, that we are seeing, so if we see UPI adoption in India, if we see how people are ordering from all the e-tailers and 10-minute delivery applications, that is not happening across the globe. So if that adoption is there, if people are making, if a Chaiwala is taking payment from UPI and making payments from UPI, if I don't see there is any challenge for a guest who is paying around 4,000 or 5,000 rupees, staying in a tier 3 city, will have any challenge in adopting to that technology. But I feel that the embrace to technology in these cities is slightly higher because people are more aspirational. They feel that, okay, yes, we have to be adaptive. We have to be at par with what people are doing in tier 1 towns. Yeah. So we don't see any challenges. In fact, a lot of our housekeeping and everything is done through tech. So there are internal applications which talk to each other, and housekeeping and everything is done through that. And even in places where we are operating hotels in tier 2 or tier 3, the staff which is operating over there, they are very comfortable with all those things. So I think there's this training which is required a bit, but after that, people are very adapted to it.
I mean, I can add to that, I think. You know, today the guest-facing side of it is not drastically changing. I mean, you know, mobile check-in, all that's already there. But I think more on, for instance, we got now deployed voice AI at the reception where we mark the frustration words, you know, any grievances that are captured automatically, and that removes the responsibility from receptionist to talk to his colleague, where you say, I want water bottle, my AC is broken, or I'm not happy. The AI creates an automatic ticket, it gets assigned, it's time-bound. So, I mean, we make sure that, you know, we're delivering a much better service, and you're making sure that, you know, that need is not lost in the communication chain. And it allows us to intercept the guest journey before that grievance becomes a sour experience and usually, you know, becomes a bad review online. And most of us, I think, you know, we usually react to those bad reviews, and that's damage control. So I think, you know, technology is really allowing us to intercept the guest journey before that becomes sour. So I agree on the staff training side. It's not that rocket science. That stuff really needs, you know, I think learning property management system is probably the most complex things we try to train our staff on. And that is so, the new technology is actually much easier to use.
I was just going to say that also in the mid-scale, we all operate with a lot of efficiency. It lies at the core of all our operating processes. So even if you look at our built-up area per key, it was just around, say, 500 square feet per room. So whether it's the back areas, the staff areas, the stores, etc. So at the back end too, see if we're operating with, let's say, under 0.45 to a key in terms of the room to staff ratio, we need to be able to free their time and make them really productive. So the entire thing that they spoke about in terms of guest needs and how they ask for things, you can't be staffing your reception like with 2, 3 kind of resources there. So how do we manage that whole back end, even in terms of how we deploy L&D? So let's say the luxury segment hotels would do it very differently, probably have a lot of training rooms in the back areas, conduct in-person trainings. We'll have to use a lot of things deployed through smartphones, and all of the staff working with us are of that average age that they use this technology very well. So, you know, you'd use different e-modules to kind of deploy training and L&D. So every facet of your mid-scale operations, both for the guest as well as for the team, we need to be able to leverage technology.
Right. The one question that comes to my mind is a lot of our brands here are owner-led, where owner takes the decision, end up taking a decision on whether, how much money should they be investing in technology. Is that something that you deal with on a daily basis?
Well, yes, because at the end of the day, as you rightly put it, that the owner is the asset, you know, owner. But again, it's about cost-benefit analysis. Let's take one simple example from our side. As you know, we were growing and the whole tech need came, and how smaller markets are exploding. So the need for whole technology, GDS, changing the reservation platforms and all came in. Initially, you had a lot of resistance, but today we're proud to say all our 100% hotels are connected on it, in the pipeline also, or whatever we are operating. So I think it's about making a business case. It just does not have a straight answer, is what I would say, but you have to make a business case. And I can assure you, once you put that, I have never seen any ownership who, when they see a benefit, they will not shell out more money. Yeah. That's what I can say.
Right. Right.
For us, it is all prop tech. So we are developing our own technology, and that is being installed by us at all the hotels. So I think for us, that problem doesn't exist, because we're not asking owners to invest in all those technology and all those things. That is coming from our side.
I mean, you know, we do management agreements where we don't invest anything in the property, so the owner makes the whole investment. But as I agree with Jatin, you know, the moment they see the bottom line, the ROI, it's usually an easy sell. I mean, you're not, as long as you're not asking them to do something not feasible, I think, you know, it's fine.
Of course,
Yeah, but-
Rahul, I think you want.
Yeah, what I want to say is that a lot of our owners are young, Swati. So what happens there is that they're well-read, they're well-traveled, they understand what bottom lines are. More than us, they are extremely proactive in using the brand SOPs and what the brand has to offer in terms of technology. They're very, very aware today. They know the benefits of it. And they also realize that, there could be an investment, there could be an initial investment, but in terms of the long run, it's only going to help them later. So I think we're a little blessed, or we're a little smarter in that scope we are, that, it's less to explain now.
Right, of course. What brings us almost to the end of our discussion, but there's one important topic I'd like to touch about is consolidation. So, Jatin, let me start with you. If Midscale consolidates over the next 5 years, and it likely will, which model, according to you, will survive? Would it be brand-led, platform-led, or would it be partnership-led?
First of all, let me say this, consolidation, just because it has become an in thing in the last 12 months, does not mean that mid-market has all of a sudden become the new fashion thing. It was always there. It's like, sorry to sound a little cocky, but drawing a parallel, if Lotus Biscoff reduces their price to enter into Parle-G market, does not mean that it's a strategic move. It's a tactical move because you want to penetrate the market, and that's what is really happening. What will happen in future? As we said earlier, there'll be different models. IHCL will have their own strategy, we'll have our own strategy. Wyndham is already doing their own partnership and consolidation. So it's like everybody wants to put their flags everywhere, depending on market by market, but it'll be different. You can't have one answer.
Fair. Let me get Deepika's views on that.
On consolidation, like I said right at the outset, I think there is scope for a lot more supply. But if you had to look at in the mid-scale segment, I think there is a lot of standalone hotels, different sizes in metros, tier 1, tier 2, 3. As more and more brands have now entered this space, I would probably see the standalone supply in the mid-scale segment wanting to pick up brand affiliation in any one of these models, whether operating leases, franchise, or management. I think that could be something we'll see.
All right. All right, before we end, let's lighten this a little bit. I have a quick rapid fire. Jatin, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
If you weren't in hospitality, what should you be doing?
Oh, I would have been a teacher of political science.
Very clear about it.
So I was told not to talk about this, but a lot of us here, we've never studied hospitality in our school. Rahul is an engineer, was an engineer.
Yeah, probably didn't go with the right frame of mind at that point of time. I'm good I'm not one. So I'm really happy to be in this industry.
Doing it right. Deepika and I share one common thing. We've both studied economics. Kahraman, tell us about us. Tell us about you.
I'm a hotelier by accident.
Yes, yes.
I'm actually a real estate developer. And it was a pandemic opportunity that I saw, and then it started as long stay, and then the moment market came back, I found myself in this sector, and very happy to be. And just coming back on the consolidation, I think the market is really still nascent. We go out to all the cities to do business development. I don't see any competing term sheets. I think the market needs to mature. There will be many partnerships amongst brands and local operators, the international brands, the local know-how. And then once there is more potential, companies to be come together, so I think consolidation we'll see. But I think it's an exciting market to be in.
Right. Neeraj, sorry, we didn't have a chance to talk, but tell us what you would do if you wouldn't do hospitality.
Probably a lawyer.
Interesting.
I think that's why we're all running mid-market. From Mohit's comment this morning, the whole caste system, we're not the blue blood hoteliers. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for a lovely conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swati.